Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Wednesday, the 20th of October, 2021, Wednesday of the 29th week of the year. Coming to you this morning from that little tree, it's the little tree spot that's right next to the side entrance, the pastoral offices right over there. And the thing that I noticed today is that there is a bird feeder here, which I think that I've done things from this little grove. It's a grove of trees, that's what it is. There's a little grove of trees to the side. And I've done things before from here, and I never noticed this bird feeder, so I think it's new, or else I'm losing my mind. So a little bird feeder here in the nice little grove of trees where the pine needles and the pine cones have fallen, and hopefully there are no copperheads underneath the pine needles to bite me. Today's readings, continuing again from Romans and Luke still. The two themes that kind of pop out are both sin and beatings, and you wonder why these are the themes for today, or the themes in the gospel at all. Well, again, the gospel is always problematically looked at because all it seems to look at is sin. But that's more or less what our tradition has looked at, and that's across the board in all Christian traditions. It's sin, 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 sin. And yet, when you take a look at what Jesus is talking about and what he's doing in the Gospels, sin is not the top priority. It is brought out when there is arrogance, when there is too much self-confidence, when there is pride, when there is wrongdoing, when there is not taking care of our brothers and sisters, when there is not love. Yes, sin is talked about. But Paul seems to go overboard a little bit in Romans. Again, Romans is a very complicated letter because he's writing to the largest of cosmopolitan areas in the known world at Paul's time. And while sin appears in some of the other letters, it's more or less this sense of talking about Jesus and the resurrection and what it means to be a believer, and living a life that is honest and true and things like that, according to the message and the mission of Christ. We move into this sixth chapter of the letter of Romans, to the Romans, basically with Paul again, sin all over the place. Why is Paul so concerned with sin when it comes to the Romans? Well, again, think about it. Again, largest city in the known world, the largest cosmopolitan area in the known world, filled with all kinds of things that you wouldn't find in some of the outback areas like Palestine, the Holy Land, even in Asia Minor and parts of Greece. So there is a lot going on in Rome that, again, Paul recognizes perhaps and sees as not good for the benefit of humankind and for growth in one's own humanity. And so his focus, on those kinds of things that could make us less than who and what we are, and less than who and what we are as the glory of God in this world. It isn't necessary that Paul sees the world as sinful, because Jesus did not see the world as sinful. But Paul sees things that need to be corrected and makes no bones about the need for correcting it, and doesn't hold anything back in trying to encourage the church in Rome to correct what it can and to embrace what is true instead of all kinds of fads and fashions. Something to think about in all of our major cities, perhaps in the Western world, in Europe, and all over the place, because sometimes we get lost in trying to find diversions and delights that may be good for a moment, but not be good for the long term, or in the end satisfying what our hunger and what we thirst for. In the gospel, again, Jesus still tells us to be vigilant in Luke's gospel. Jesus is telling us to be aware and ready for the return of the master now, not necessarily the bridegroom, but the return of the master from the long journey, and having put people in charge until he returns. And again, these people who are in charge, are beaten because they did not do the right things or did not take care of what they should and things like that. That is where the beating is coming in. It's not that God will beat people because we weren't ready or weren't prepared. Again, God is not a God of beatings. God is not a God of harm, of hurt, of pain. But those who are put in charge to await the return of the master, to await the return of the king, to await the return of the bridegroom, i.e. priests, bishops, all those people, if they are not, doing what they are supposed to be doing, if they are, basically not taking care of the people whom they are supposed to take care of, if they are not working for the betterment, the uplifting of humanity, and the embracing of life to its fullest here and now before we enter into life to come, then yes, there will be a reckoning, perhaps. There will be some sense, in which you neglected your job. You fell asleep at the wheel. You did not do what you were supposed to do as the caretaker, as the leader in my absence until I returned. That is a seriousness and a serious responsibility, which needs to be taken seriously and needs not just to be thrown around as some great honor or some great privilege, as sometimes it may seem. We are people who are in need of leaders who can guide and nurture, who can help us to understand the fullness of what it means to be a believer in this world. And if we fail to do that, then basically we are to blame, and we must receive a reckoning to be able to help us correct our ways, so that we can be able to help others recognize the glory and the wonder of God that resides inside them. And may the Lord give you his peace.